A federal psychologist sits across from you in a room with no windows. She has a clipboard. She has a kind voice. She has been doing this for 11 years, and she has learned not to rush silences. She asks you one question. What's your name? And you pause. Not because you don't know, because you know too many. Because for the past 26 months, the name you were born with lived in a sealed box in a storage unit in Northern Virginia. And the name you answered to, the name that kept you alive, that earned trust inside rooms most federal agents never reach, that name doesn't fit in this chair. This is what deep cover does to a person. And this is every level of what it did to you.
Level 1. The volunteer. Nobody makes you do this. That's the first thing you need to understand. There's no pressure, no quota, no hand on your shoulder steering you toward a briefing room. You are a 7-year FBI field agent with a clean record, a steady career, and a quiet apartment in Alexandria that you've been meaning to redecorate for 4 years. You are, by every measurable standard, fine. Your supervisor finds you on a Tuesday. He stops by your desk with coffee in hand, his coffee, not an offering, and asks if you have lunch plans. By the end of that lunch, the words deep cover, 2 years, and full identity construction are in the air between you and the breadsticks. He doesn't push, he explains the operation, he explains the infrastructure. He tells you there will be a handler, a dead drop system, scheduled contact windows, and a full psychological support protocol upon extraction. He tells you it's voluntary. By Thursday, you've said yes. You don't know exactly why. You tell yourself it's because you're qualified, experienced, the right fit. And maybe that's true, but there's something underneath that explanation, something quieter. A feeling that your ordinary life has been waiting at a crossroads for a long time, and this is a direction. The identity construction phase takes 11 days. A new name, Michael Caruso. A new backstory, ex-con, 2 years in Lewisburg on an aggravated assault charge, released 18 months prior, looking for steady work. A new apartment on the east side, furnished cheaply and correctly. A new phone. A new wallet with a driver's license, a library card, and a photograph of a woman you've never met who will serve as Michael's deceased mother. You practice. Every morning in front of a mirror you run the backstory. Scranton childhood, Catholic school, the fight that sent you to Lewisburg, a dock worker named Petrov, a dispute about borrowed money, a single punch that landed wrong. You practice until Michael Caruso's history arrives in your mouth before you consciously reach for it. You are good at this. That surprises you slightly, and it pleases you. And the pleasure of it is the first thing, in retrospect, you should have been more careful about. The night before insertion, you sit in your real apartment for the last time. You pick up a photograph of yourself, actual you, at your sister's college graduation, laughing at something, and you put it in a cardboard box. You seal the box with tape. You place it in the storage unit alongside everything else that belongs to the person you are currently suspending. The next morning, Michael Caruso takes a taxi to the other side of the city.
Level 2. Insertion. Nobody tells you that organized crime is mostly just waiting. You expected tension, edge, the low hum of danger at every meal. What you find instead are bars that smell like old smoke, card games where everyone cheats loosely and forgives it, men who are funnier than they should be, conversations about football and bad weather, and a restaurant on Clement Street that apparently has the best osso buco in the city and is always worth the wait. The violence everyone imagines, it lives in a different room. The room you're in is warmer than that, more ordinary, and somehow, precisely because of that, more dangerous. You enter the network through a contact arranged by the Bureau, a low-level fence named Dario, who believes you're exactly who you say you are, a man with a record and a useful skill set, looking for work that doesn't require paperwork. Dario is careless and good-natured, and introduces you around without ceremony. In this world, introductions are everything. Being introduced is being vouched for. Dario doesn't know what he's done. The first weeks are about earning presents, showing up, playing cards, losing gracefully. Michael Caruso isn't flashy, doesn't need to win, which makes him likable in a room full of men who need to win everything. You don't ask questions. You don't volunteer information. You exist usefully, quietly, at the edge of things. Then Cal finds you. Cal is the organization's mid-level operations manager. He's 51 years old, thick through the shoulders, with a way of making eye contact that feels like a physical examination. He invites you to dinner, not to a bar, a restaurant, white tablecloths, and he spends 3 hours asking you questions that aren't questions. Observations about people he knows, stories with small holes in them, pauses that he lets breathe. You hold eye contact. You think about Michael Caruso's preference for red wine. You think about Petrov and the borrowed money and the single punch. You are calm in a way that surprises even you. In his office, taped to the wall above his desk, is a drawing, crayon, a child's hand, a lopsided yellow sun above a green house. His daughter's, you'll later learn. You notice it. You almost say something human about it. Then you stop. Michael Caruso doesn't say something human unprompted to a man he barely knows. So you stay quiet. And something very small dies in that choice, though you won't have a name for it until much later. Cal gives you a job, moving a car from one warehouse to another. The car is legal, the plates are not. The trunk, you know without looking, is not. You move the car. That night, your scheduled contact with your handler is at a laundromat, a dead drop exchange, low exposure. But when you arrive, something is wrong. A man in a parked Buick has been there too long. You walk past. You don't stop. You abort the contact. For the next 9 days, you are completely alone. You have never been so alone in your life. Not because you're isolated. You see people every day. You eat dinner with Cal's crew twice a week. But because the person those people know is not you. You are alone inside the performance. And the performance never stops. Level 3, the compromise. You tell yourself there's a line. Every undercover agent does. It's almost ritualistic. You draw it in your head before you go in, and you name it clearly. This far, no further. The Bureau tells you there's a line too. They put it in writing. They give it a policy number. Then the operation advances, and they move the line with a memo. By month 8, Cal has brought you fully into the organization's distribution arm. You are not moving product. You are not selling. You are coordinating delivery routes, mapping transit windows, timing handoffs, identifying surveillance gaps. Your maps, your timing, your oversight enable it. The Bureau is aware. The Bureau authorizes it. The Bureau uses the phrase operational necessity in the relevant documentation, and you remind yourself of this at night when the apartment is quiet and your own voice sounds faintly unfamiliar. Then there is Trey. Trey is 19 years old. He works as a runner for the lower distribution tier, small pickups, cash handoffs, nothing that puts him in a room where people talk about real things. He has a sharp, watchful face and a laugh that comes out of nowhere and is genuinely funny. One of the older men in the network has taken to calling him the Kid, which is not unkind. Cal pulls you aside one evening. Someone is skimming, small amounts, consistently. The pattern points to Trey. Cal doesn't ask you to handle it. He asks you to find out. Just confirm. You investigate. You confirm it. You report back to Cal with a steady voice and a composed face. Michael Caruso doesn't waver. Cal nods slowly, says thank you, and pours you a drink. 2 days later, Trey is gone. Not arrested, not warned, gone in the way that means something specific in this world. You make contact with your handler and ask what happened. Your handler says, keep going. You keep going. But that night you dream about Trey, not the Trey from the network, but a version sitting at a kitchen table, doing homework, looking up at you with his sharp, watchful face.
"Why didn't you just lie?" he asks. You wake up and realize you don't have a good answer. You had the lie available. You could have said you found nothing. You didn't. You filed a report. Michael Caruso filed a report. You are still not entirely sure which one of you made that decision. The moral ledger you've been keeping, the one that says, "I'm the good guy here, regardless of the room I'm sitting in," develops its first visible crack. Not a break, a crack. You are still the agent, you are still inside the operation, but something that used to feel clean about the work has changed texture, and no amount of policy language makes it smooth again. Cal, satisfied, tells you he wants to introduce you to someone, the man above him, the name the Bureau has been waiting to reach for 14 months. He says it casually, the way men in this world announce everything significant, as if it's nothing, as if the room isn't changing shape around you. Your authorized operation has 4 weeks remaining. Reaching this man will require an extension. You request it. The Bureau approves it before you finish the sentence. Level 4. The Deep Room. Voss is 58 years old. He was, for 20 years, a legitimate logistics executive, regional VP for a freight company that moved container cargo from Pacific ports to inland distribution centers. He knows supply chains the way musicians know keys. He can describe the movement of contraband through the American freight system the way a professor describes a thing he loves, with precision, with pleasure, with the assumption that you are intelligent enough to appreciate it. He is the most dangerous kind of man, the kind you genuinely respect. He doesn't perform power, he simply has it, the way a river has water, without needing to announce itself. The first dinner you have with him, he explains his operation over a $90 steak and a bottle of Barolo, and you sit across from him recording every detail in your memory, like the federal agent you still technically are, while also, and this is the part that will never appear in any report, simply enjoying the conversation. Voss promotes you quickly. Within 6 weeks of your introduction, you are in rooms where evidence worth years of federal prosecution is spoken aloud without caution, because you have been fully trusted, and because the trust was earned by a person named Michael Caruso, who does not exist, and whom you have now inhabited for 14 months. Your authorization has been extended twice. You have not been to your real apartment in over a year. When you think of that apartment, the unmade bed, the photograph you sealed in a box, it feels less like a place you came from and more like something you read about, a setting in a story that isn't being told anymore. Michael Caruso has a reputation now. In rooms you aren't present, people speak about him. He exists independent of you. He has preferences and habits and a history that other people have now witnessed and added to. Details you didn't invent, that emerged from the operation the way a character in a long novel develops beyond their author's original design. You begin to notice it in small ways. When you're truly alone, in the shower, lying awake at 3 a.m., you think in Michael's patterns first. His risk assessments, his reading of rooms, his voice, which has settled slightly lower and slower than yours. Your own thought patterns arrive second, like a translation. One evening, Voss shows you a photograph from his phone, his grandson, 4 years old, holding a fish he caught. Voss tells you about his daughter's recent divorce, how worried he is, how the boy needs stability, how certain kinds of damage travel through generations and you have to break the chain somewhere. He is speaking like a grandfather, not a criminal. He means every word. You find yourself genuinely moved. You catch this, the genuine emotion. You examine it the way you would examine an unexpected wound. Then you file it under operational intelligence and move on. But the feeling was real. That part you can't file away. Your handler at their next contact delivers news you've been waiting for. The Bureau has enough. 39 probable charges across 12 individuals, 18 months of documented evidence. They want you extracted within 60 days. You receive this information. You relay it to no one because Michael Caruso does not have a handler. You return to the operation. And somewhere, in the part of you that still belongs to the person in the storage unit, you feel something you don't immediately name. Something that resembles reluctance. Something that feels, and this is the thing you will think about for a very long time, like not wanting to leave home.
Level 5. The Unraveling. The morning the bureau moves, you are having coffee. You know it's coming. You've known the date for 3 weeks, but when the first text arrives, coded, from a number that will be destroyed by afternoon, something still shifts in your chest. A door closing, a gear locking into place. Coordinated arrests across 12 locations began at 6 a.m. Voss is taken at his home. Cal is taken outside a dry cleaner's on Folsom. 37 others fall through the morning like dominoes in a sequence someone planned for a very long time, which is exactly what happened. Your extraction is a staged arrest, bureau protocol, clean and practiced. 2 agents in plain clothes approach you outside a coffee shop, produce badges low and quiet, walk you to a car. A 3rd agent, watching the street, counts the seconds before any member of the network could observe. You are handcuffed in the way that would read as real to anyone watching. You are processed through a local precinct under a false name. 40 minutes later, you exit through a side door into a parking lot, and your handler is standing there in a gray jacket, holding 2 cups of coffee, and he extends his hand and says, "Incredible work." You shake his hand, you say thank you, you hold the coffee, and you wait for the feeling that is supposed to be here, the relief, the pride, the clean, bright satisfaction of a mission completed, and you find something else entirely where those feelings should live, something hollow, something that is shaped exactly like the feeling you're looking for, but contains nothing. The debrief room is beige and fluorescent and smells like carpet cleaner and old coffee, which is to say, it smells like the government, which is to say, it smells like the world you came from, and it feels less real to you than any room you've been in for the past 2 years. You answer every question correctly and completely. You describe Voss's operation with the fluency of someone who lived inside it, which is exactly what you are. The interviewing agent is thorough and appreciative, and occasionally makes small sounds of admiration at the detail you've retained. At the end, he asks the standard protocol question. At any point during the operation, did you experience difficulty maintaining separation between your cover identity and your actual identity? You say no. The answer comes out of your mouth before you've decided to say it. Smooth, composed, immediate. And you hear it leave you, and you recognize what it is, a reflex. The same reflex that kept you alive in those rooms for 26 months. The reflex of performing whatever the situation requires. You told a lie in a federal debrief, and your body didn't flinch. 3 days later, your sister calls. You haven't spoken in 14 months. The Bureau told her you were in a long-term classified training placement, and she accepted this with the particular grace of someone who has learned not to ask questions about your work. She sounds relieved, she sounds like herself, and then, near the end of the call, she goes quiet and says, "You sound different." You tell her you're tired. "No," she says, "different, like someone I haven't met yet." You tell her you'll visit soon. You mean it. You're not sure the person she'll meet when you do will be the person she's expecting. Level 6. The Surface. The mandatory psychological evaluation runs 6 weeks. Your therapist is experienced and perceptive and uses words like reintegration and identity anchoring with the calm authority of someone who has helped other people through this and believes in the process. You are cooperative. You are articulate. You describe your experience with a clinical precision that she initially interprets as a sign of good processing.
By week 3, she gently notes in her assessment that the precision itself might be the problem, that you are describing your own psychological experience the way you would describe an operational target: organized, detached, taxonomized. You tell her that's interesting. You ask what she'd like you to do differently. She says she'd like you to try being less useful in these sessions. You nod and think, Michael Caruso would have known how to do that. Then you realize what you just thought, and you sit with it, and you don't share it with her. The apartment smells like sealed time. Your books are where you left them, your coffee mug, a jacket on the hook by the door that belongs to a man who walked out of here and is now standing here again, wearing it like a costume in a play where he's forgotten his lines because he's been performing a different play for 2 years, and this one feels thin by comparison. You try to resume ordinary things: a morning run, a coffee routine, calling your sister, who drives up one Saturday and stands in your kitchen and makes you lunch and is warm and kind and exactly herself. And somewhere in the middle of this, you look at her and feel an enormous specific love and also a window of glass between you that you can't name and she can't see. Months pass. The prosecutions hold. Voss receives 22 years. Cal accepts a plea and receives 12. The organization is dismantled effectively. The Bureau considers Operation Night Watch one of its most successful deep cover operations in a decade. There is a commendation. You decline the ceremony. They mail the certificate. It sits on your kitchen counter for 6 weeks before you move it to a drawer. The Office of Professional Responsibility inquiry, triggered by security footage showing Michael Caruso at an unsanctioned location during a gap in your contact windows, is resolved quietly. The footage showed nothing actionable. The question of what you were doing there and whether Michael Caruso sometimes moved through the world independently of the operation is closed without being fully answered. You receive a new assignment offer: shorter duration, lower risk, different network, different city, different alias. The agent presenting it says they think of you specifically because of your demonstrated capacity for sustained identity performance under pressure. It is, he says, a rare skill. You sit with the offer for 2 weeks. You don't discuss it with your therapist. You go about your ordinary life, the runs, the coffee, the dinners with your sister, and you try to locate what you feel about the offer. There is something there that isn't duty and isn't ambition, something warmer and quieter than both, something that felt, when you were inside that world, like competence elevated to identity, like being completely somewhere. Your therapist in your final session asks, if you could go back before any of this and choose not to volunteer, would you? You consider this for longer than any question should take. The room is quiet. Outside, a siren passes and fades. I don't think, you say finally, that version of me exists anymore to answer that. She writes something in her notebook. She doesn't share what it is. You don't ask.
You don't decide about the new assignment. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. You've learned to distrust decisions made before a thing is fully felt, and this one isn't fully felt. It may not be for months. It may not be for years. The Bureau will wait. They are very good at waiting for assets they value. One night, a Wednesday, ordinary, the kind of evening that doesn't announce itself, you sit down at your kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pen. Not a phone, a pen, on paper, the way the person you were before all this used to write things down when they needed to think clearly. You write the beginning of a letter. I need to tell you something about what it costs to become someone else completely, and what it costs more when it's time to stop. You sit with that sentence for a long time, then you put the pen down. You don't know who you were going to send it to: your sister, your handler, the federal psychologist, Trey, Voss, the man in the photograph you sealed in a box 3 years ago, whose name you answered to automatically this morning when your neighbor called across the parking lot and you turned without thinking, because it's your name, because it has always been your name,
Because, and this is the thing you keep returning to, the thing that lives at the center of everything the operation taught you, identity is not a fixed object. It is a practice, a direction, a daily decision about which self you perform until the performance becomes indistinguishable from the real. You don't know if that's a loss or a discovery. You've stopped expecting to know. You fold the letter. You don't address it. You place it in the drawer with the commendation certificate and close the drawer and stand in your kitchen in the quiet of a Wednesday evening that is yours, entirely yours, in a life you came back to after a long time away. You make coffee. You think, tomorrow I'll call my sister. And then, in the last breath of a thought before the thought finishes, you wonder what Michael Caruso would be doing tonight.